Dr. JACO ROSSOUW, clinical psychologist and cognitive behavioral therapist, and also founder of Center for Cognitive Behavior Therapy, chats to us about the therapy to assist an individual with Tourette syndrome. Welcome to the Loft, Dr. JACO.
Hi.
So what is cognitive behavioral therapy?
So cognitive behavioral therapy is an umbrella for multiple different intervention types that fall under this category. And there are too many to name, but basically the focus in cognitive behavioral therapy is on thoughts, emotions, and understanding the link of the thoughts and emotions with context. And one of the therapies that fall under cognitive behavioral therapy, which is a behavioral therapy intervention called comprehensive behavioral intervention for tics, is a treatment that's indicated for the treatment of tic disorder or of Tourette's disorder, which is one of the tic disorders.
So then, Doc, how does cognitive behavioral therapy help someone with Tourette syndrome?
Tourette's syndrome or persistent tic disorders, if you don't have both vocal or motor tics at the same time for longer than 1 year, can be helped in multiple ways. So the one way in which cognitive behavior therapy helps is it can help to reduce the tics, and there are particular interventions associated with that. And then it also provides skill sets for people with to cope with the associated problems that they might experience. Because obviously, if you make funny movements or funny sounds, then you will more easily become a target of social stigma or of bullying. So that has a big negative impact on children, particularly in a school setting. So it's also helping them and their parents to manage the associated problems that they experience.
So, Dr. JACO, we spoke to Radlin earlier, and he was quite vocal at the fact that it was psychological intervention that helped with his tics. And here we're speaking to you, and you are breaking down the fact that it is what's happening in your brain, in your cognition, and it's the direct link to your behaviors. So are these the benefits that we can continue seeing coming out of cognitive behavioral therapy for someone with tics?
There's a whole lot of steps, but just to keep it simple, we'll just refer to the 3 core steps. The one is awareness training. So the individual has to become more aware of when they tic. Because in tics, you can have what they call premonitory urges. So you can have an uncomfortable feeling somewhere in your body that can be an indication that you are about to tic. And then the second aspect is what we call competing response training. So instead of performing the tic, you would perform an alternative muscle movement that competes with the tic. And the third one is functional analysis, where you look at the environmental sort of triggers. So for some children, if they watch television, they will tic more. For other children, if they watch television, they'll tic less. And you have to, with parents, if it's younger children, you have to be a bit of a detective and work with them and find out what are the areas that cause them to tic more.
So what is an example of cognitive behavioral therapy then?
Competing response is using the muscles in a different way. So I'll use one example quickly to illustrate what this entails. So one of the first tics that kids typically would get is quick blinking tics. So a competing response for that kind of blinking would be performing a slow blink, and you teach the child how to use the slow blink, which, if I can demonstrate, would be a slow movement.
Oh, I saw that, yes.
Would replace the quick blinking. And you would do that slow movement then for 1 minute, and then you would discontinue it and carry on with whatever activities you are busy with until you have another sensation that you might blink again.
Now, Dr. JACO, what are some of the benefits of CBT for someone with tics?
The key thing is that this treatment does not compete with medication, but in mild and moderate tics, it's demonstrated to be the first-line treatment, so the thing you do first. And it can reduce tics dramatically.
So, Doctor, what is an example of CBT, and how can one practice CBT on themselves?
Right, so with tic disorder specifically, the things to practice is to increase your awareness of when you tic, and you can learn to make small adjustments to your environment. So, for example, someone who has a tic where they would prod someone else with a pen, to just raise their awareness to not have a pen in their hand in the classroom setting. If someone has a very sort of big motor tic that's more like inclusive of more than one muscle, so a typical one would be a neck and a shoulder movement that happens at the same time. You can practice a combination of competing responses of keeping the muscle in your neck stiff, pulling your elbow into the side and holding that stiff for a 1-minute period, which then helps you to overcome the tic.
Education is key, and that's what it comes down to. We need to arm ourselves and have the weapon of knowledge to be able to overcome things as a society, so we're able to help those with syndromes like Tourette syndrome. Thank you so much, Dr. JACO ROSSOUW, for helping us and helping all those when it comes to cognitive behavioral therapy. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
It seems like we need to identify what's going on early, educate ourselves and equip ourselves so we're able to overcome Tourette syndrome. Please may you head over to our Afternoon Express's Facebook and social media pages. Use that hashtag Afternoon Express, and hopefully cognitive behavioral therapy could be an intervention that can make the difference in your family.